Hello learners, welcome to Now Let's Learn channel. Hope you're doing good. This is Shriyab and today let's learn another pattern program. So today we will look into something called Fibonacci series or Fibonacci sequence. We will understand what exactly is Fibonacci sequence, and once we get the concept behind it, we will implement the same using Python. So first let's see what is Fibonacci sequence. So by definition, as you see on the screen, it is a sequence such that each number is the sum of two preceding ones starting from 0 and 1. In simple words, if I want to find the next element of the sequence, I need to add the first two elements. In this case, it's 0 plus 1, which again the output would be 1. If I want to find the fourth element, then I have to again add the two preceding numbers, which in this case would be 1 plus 1, which is 2. We will look into Fibonacci sequence in much more detail with 9 different sequences so that you understand how it works. Once you understand how it works, then we will try to find the logic by which we can implement the same using Python. So let's get started. Okay, so let's look into some of the Fibonacci sequence examples. As you see, you have the first column has the length. For example, uh, what will be the sequence if the length is 1? Basically, 1 it means there is only one element, right? And the first element would be 0. If the length is 2, the second element would be 1, and if the length is 3, now we have got the two numbers. So when the length is 3, the third element would be calculated by adding first and second element, that is 0 plus 1, which is 1 again. And so the 3 length Fibonacci sequence would be 0 1 1. Let's say if the length is 4, then again 0 1 1, the fourth element is calculated by the addition of second and third, which in this case would become 2. Then if you want to calculate the fifth element, again you have to add the third and fourth, which is 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. If you have to find the sixth element, add the fourth element and the fifth element, which again 2 plus 3 becomes 5. If you want to find the seventh element, you have to add the fifth and the sixth element, which is 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. You have to find the eighth element, then you have to add sixth and seventh element, which is 5 plus 8, 8 is equal to 13. If you want to find the ninth element, you got to add seventh and eighth, which becomes 21. That is, seventh element is 8, eighth element is 13, 8 plus 13 is equal to 21. Hopefully you understand the concept. Basically, you have to add the first, or you have to add the preceding two numbers to get the next number. So this is what is all about Fibonacci series. Let's not go into detail what is the application. It has mathematical application, but that should not concern us right now. You know the logic now. Let's see how we can implement and try to achieve the same output using the Python. So here we have the Python program to print the Fibonacci sequence. So basically, let's see into as two sections, section 1 and section 2. In section 1, you would see that first we need to know what is the length of the Fibonacci sequence, right? So is it how many numbers would be there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So hence we are getting the length from the user, and for that that's what we're getting in the first line. Once we get the length of the Fibonacci sequence, by default the first two numbers of a Fibonacci sequence in this case would be 0 1 1. So we are assigning the values 0 to num1 and 1 to num2. This is one way of assigning multiple values to multiple variables. If I had a third variable, I could have said num1 comma num2 comma num3 is equal to 0 comma 1 comma 2. You get the concept. And then we need a counter to make sure that Fibonacci sequence does not exceed the length given by the user. So we are creating another variable called count is equal to 0. This is all about section 1, and then comes the actual execution in section 2. Now we need to verify and make sure that the length given by the user should be greater than 0, because you cannot have a length of 0 or a negative number. In case the user enters 0 or something less than 0, we are telling the user that please enter a length greater than 0. So that's the first condition. The second probability is that the user might have entered 1. If the user is entering 1, you don't have to calculate anything. One element or one element Fibonacci sequence is just 0. So you just have to print the num1, which will print 0. Now let's say the user is entering something beyond 1. For example, in this case is entering 5. So we will be printing Fibonacci sequence is just a string to format the output. Now we are comparing, is the count less than length being 5. So what is the value of count? Currently it's 0. Yes, it is less. So it will print the num1, which is fine, and then it will add num1 plus num2, which it becomes 0 plus 1, which is 1, and then we will swap the value. So num1 will take the value of num2 and num2 will take the value of sum. So in this case, now num1 becomes 1 and num2 also becomes 1, because sum is still the value 1. And then once this gets executed, the count gets incremented. So from 0 it becomes 1. Again this while loop gets executed. Now the count is 1. Is it less than 5? Yes. Then again the whole process gets incremented. So after once count becomes 5, now count is no more less than 5. It will come out of the loop and to print the output. And let's see what happens when you come out of the loop. So here are the various output when you enter length is equal to 0, and so the first if condition will tell you that since the length is less or equal to 0, it will prompt the user to enter a length greater than 0. Let's say second attempt, if the user enters 1 as the length, so in an Fibonacci sequence the first element as you know is 0. So if the length is 1, that's what will be printed. In this case that is what is printed, which is 0. Let's say next an user enters 9. This is interesting. Here is where the program execution goes to while condition. First the count value is being compared with 9, and yes, obviously it's going to be less because count is 0 and the length is 9. And then the first value num1 is printed. Then you are adding num1 plus num2 and storing the result into sum, and then we are swapping the value. Basically we are inserting num2 value into num1, and then some value into num2, and then incrementing the counter again, then again checking, again comparing the count value with the length value, and as long or until the length becomes equal to count value, the program keeps executing. And that's why if you enter the length as 9, you will get the Fibonacci sequence which will have 9 elements. If you enter 53, you will get 53 elements. So this is all about the Fibonacci sequence. Hopefully, my explanation was simple and you were able to understand what is Fibonacci sequence and how it is implemented in Python. This is one of the most basic program which is asked if they want to test your basics. So make sure that you go through the video again and again, as long as you get the concept. Once you get the concept, it should not be difficult to remember in the future. So, and if you have any queries or any section which you did not understand, please feel free to ask in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to help you out. So thank you for listening to yet another Python program. We'll meet you in the next program. Thank you.